It's Paul Marsh here on Express. Delighted to say that I've been joined by TV presenter, psychologist, and broadcaster Emma Kenny. Emma, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
It's nice to have you back, because I think the last time we spoke was probably maybe even a year, 8 months, a
It's
year ago,
gone
something like
so
that.
fast,
I
though, hasn't it?
know,
That it
I
just feels
know.
like last Wednesday. That's the
Oh,
reality. That's how fast time is going
tell
these
me
days,
about it.
right?
I was talking to somebody else about that the other day, and I said, "Do you realise that was a year ago?" They're,
I
no,
know.
not
It's
a year.
really crazy.
We need to rewind it. Let's turn back time. Let's turn back time. Now, what we're here to talk about is this. I like this. I think this is nice. The average Brit does around about 5 good deeds a week. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I think this is something that the older I get, the more that I do this without thinking about it. I think when I was younger, certainly in my 20s, I was probably quite arrogant and egotistical and everything else like that. When we are, I mean, let's face it, when you're in your 20s, the world revolves around you and not the other way around. So I think that we're so self-centered and we're so concentrating on what we're doing, we don't stop to think about other people. So it's nice to see that so many people do good deeds
Oh,
and
yeah.
don't think twice about it.
But I think even in your 20s, if you look back, you'd probably hold doors open for people. You'd probably say to somebody they've got a nice new hairstyle, if they've got a nice new hairstyle. I think we underestimate a lot of the good that we do in the world. I think as we get older, we're more conscious about these things because we understand how it feels when people are good to us. So maybe that maturity comes. But I think the collaborative and cohesive nature of the UK person is just incredible. I think the reason we don't necessarily recognize how good we are most of the time is because you just take it for granted.
Yeah,
But when you have a bad thing occur or somebody does something nasty to you, you remember it
yeah.
because we ultimately, as a survival mechanism, concentrate more on negatives. It just means that we survive. It's a protective mechanism. But when you actually take a moment to look and take stock of all the good things that you do, like I said, just making a cup of tea for a colleague, you don't think, oh, this is a really good deed. Of course, it's a good deed. You don't need to do that. When you hold the door open, you don't need to do it. You do it because you're a good person. So the Tesco research is great because what it's saying is 5 times a week, the average Brit does a good deed. I'd say that's because we're thinking, oh, what good deed did I do? But if you stop and go, oh, actually, I do a multitude of good deeds every day.
Well,
It's just I don't think of it.
I think you're 100% spot on because when I think of a good deed, I think of like the time when a van broke down at the traffic
Right,
and I helped them push it off
right.
the road. And those are big kind of like, I'm going to go out of my way to do something helpful and nice for something. But like you say, we all do these nice, small little things every day, being polite, being kind, being courteous.
Yeah.
And we don't think twice about it, which is nice because let's face it, if we could all be a little bit more polite, kind, and courteous, it would be a nicer day for everybody.
Yeah, and also you feel better. The thing
Yeah.
is, it's
Yeah.
transactional. So basically, being nice to somebody else makes you feel good, makes them feel good. They pay it forward. But also, we know that from volunteering, for example, and we do a lot of volunteering in the UK. We do give a lot to charity in the UK as well. We are incredibly pro-social. But people who are volunteers, they don't just feel good about it. They actually do things like lower the blood pressure, they extend their life. You tend to be happier in relationships. So you're doing a lot of good for you. And one of the reasons I've loved getting involved with the Tesco Stronger Starts campaign is because I like local impact. I think it's great that we do an amazing amount of good in the world. I know that we do in the UK. We give a lot to charity, for example, that goes overseas. But there's nothing like the local community benefiting. It's one of the reasons why those little blue tokens that you get at the till and you can go pop it in and help a cause in the local area. This Saturday, because what Tesco found in the research was at 12:48 p.m. happens to be when we're most pro-social. So they,
Oh,
between
what?
12 and, yeah, it's 12 and 1 p.m. on Saturday the 16th, you can walk into your store, if it's getting involved in this project, walk in, and if you get the golden token in the pick and mix, if you get it in the lucky dip, you can give £5,000 to a local school or an organisation of your choice in your local area. I just think, gosh, for the moment it takes me to
Yeah.
go in and do that, it can have a profound difference with the organisations because I'm a volunteer at a mental health charity. I know what £5,000 does. It's
Yeah.
enormous for us, enormous. So I really want people to just think about going and doing something simple, effective, but life-changing for a charity or an organisation in the local area.
I think what Tesco's do with the tokens in general, I think is
I
amazing.
do. And yeah,
We do our weekly shop at Tesco, and the kids, when we're paying, obviously it can be a little bit boring for the kids. So we always say, right, go and take 3 tokens each, and go and find the pots and go and put them in. But what we've done with them is we've taught them to actually read each one,
So good.
where it's going to, and they make an educated decision for them. So they're 6 and 10. They make an educated decision of what they feel is the most important cause and the most
It's
important charity.
amazing. It's
So
amazing.
sometimes they will put all three tokens in one. Sometimes they'll say, well, we've split them one each, or sometimes they'll say, well, we put two in this one and one in this one. So we've kind of we're constantly telling them how lucky they are.
Yeah,
And
so
and
powerful.
we like to think that they are reading and thinking about other children like themselves,
Yeah,
not as lucky, and may need that little bit of an
absolutely.
extra boost, and that's where they get to make that decision.
I don't think people probably are aware that Tesco, £5 million a year is given. So it's affecting like 5,000 schools in the UK,
Yeah.
making kids have an opportunity to have a healthy start, for example, and doing what you're doing, that helping a child to think in a pro-social way, it makes a difference. I do the same, like I always have done the same, because it takes a second for me out of my time to read and just think, which one do I want to go for?
Yeah.
But actually it's saying something about how I feel about my community, which is, I'm noticing. I do think that's the thing about human beings, full stop, actually, that we underplay and underestimate our self-power. So if I see somebody and I have a chat with them when I'm walking my dogs, and I always have this mindset where I think that person may not have somebody to go home to. They might not have somebody to speak
Yeah.
to. And my little interaction, it might seem minimal to me, but it might be maximal for them. And it's exactly the same when it comes down to what you've just said. Those little moments where we nudge our children in a pro-social direction, that's where it begins. And then where it ends is them growing into good human beings who care for the fellow man and have an impact on the world around them. And those little nudges make a massive difference to our world. So I'm on board with you completely. And I genuinely think one of the things that I've learned to make myself feel good is to really reflect and to make an effort to do nice things, even if it doesn't get reflected or respected. So, I think people can often be like, well, I held the door open for this person. And that came out number one in the Tesco research. That's what a lot of people do. 67% of people said they do it. But if that person doesn't say thank you, and that happens, I'm not going to alter my behavior because I don't know whether that person's having the worst day ever. And it's not for me to make you act in a way I need you to act. It's about me doing what I know is right for the world. And it's the same. I've spoken to people who said, oh, it's getting a bit dodgy now, a bit political to stand up for a woman or to stand up for an elderly person. I'm like, no, do it anyway. Because if that person says, no, I don't want you to, or I don't want to have the door held open, that's on them. That's fine. You shouldn't ever change good deeds just
Yeah.
because somebody else can't accept them. Just carry on and accept it take it on the chin, so to speak. So I think that reframing why we do things, because it makes us feel good. And also, like I said, you never quite know what's happening in somebody else's lives. It's like when I'm on the motorway, because I do a lot of touring, and I will always be that annoying person that lets that person in. And I know people don't like it. I know people are like, we're just going to be bumper to bumper, not let that person in. I'm like, that person could just have had a phone call about the worst news ever and they need to get home. So I'm going to take it in that mindset as opposed to this person is just being rude. They might be, but I'm just going to believe the best in them. That's what I want to do.
I'm completely with you on that. Again, that's something as I've got older, I've realized that me being one car space back, what difference does
Right.
it make? It doesn't make any difference to me whatsoever. But it could
Right.
well to them getting out of that
Right.
minute earlier. You never know. Um,
Exactly.
so I want to just talk about this quickly, and then we'll get back to the funny side of this. So if you want to head to Old Portsmouth Tesco Express on Saturday, so that's tomorrow, Saturday the 16th of March, from 12 till 1 p.m., that is where you could find the golden token here in Portsmouth. It's at the Old Portsmouth Tesco Express. If you want to head there tomorrow between 12 and 1, you could find that golden token and £5,000 to a charity of your choice. Now, I've been going through some of these, and I want to ask you. So we've got the top 10 most common good deeds done, and I want to just check how many of these that you actually do, Emma. Okay, so number one, and I think we all do this. Number one is holding the door open.
Always. I'm the person who's awkwardly at a service station waiting for you to actually come. I will look in the distance, and if there is somebody there, it doesn't matter. They'd have to move at warp speed to get there for me to actually need to be there, but I'm always there because I just feel like my dad brought me up really well, and he always did it. So I will always, in his memory, do exactly the same.
You always do that awkward moment where they're just a little bit too far away, but I'm going to hold it
I
anyway.
hold
I
that
love
door,
that. Yeah.
honestly. Yeah, a series of 15 can get past me. Honestly, I'm always the same.
This is quite an important one, I think, is sending somebody a message just to check on how they are.
Yeah.
I certainly do that with my mum. I certainly do that with my mum. I think it's something we should do probably with more people, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to call people because I always feel like texting is one of those things. It's a little bit of a way off, isn't it? Like, you just like, oh, I can text anything, but I'll call people now. I think one of the things that since the pandemic, that's one of the things I've done. I've called people. I've actually physically spoken to them, or I won't text message. I'll send a recording. I'll do a little voice record, because I like them to kind of hear me, and I can speak quicker than I can text by a long way. So yeah, I definitely think that sending messages to let people know that you love them, that you're thinking of them, and not because it's a specific reason. I did that last night with my friend, No, she's having a bit of a rubbish time at the moment, and I just recorded something to let her know that she's a sister and we don't have to be related by blood for her to just come to my house anytime she wants. And, she wrote me back a really profound thing about something that felt just so easy for me, but for her just felt really profound. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
aren't human beings just lovely? I mean, I don't mean me, I mean, just on the whole,
Aren't
on the
I
whole, we are.
amazing?
Yeah, aren't I just, that's why I love this campaign. It's all about me and how great I am.
Well, that ties nicely into number 3, which is trying to boost somebody's confidence, which I think, just by being polite and nice and complimenting somebody,
Yes,
that is going to boost their confidence, isn't it? Number 4
100%.
is giving my knowledge freely to somebody looking for advice. Again, I think certainly as we get older, that's something we do, is trying to help along the next generation, or even if it's not the next generation, like maybe an older generation, trying to help
Yeah.
them with technology. I've been here at Express for a couple of years now, so when we get new presenters coming in, something I do
Oh,
with
yeah.
thinking about it is showing them, make sure they know how all the equipment works and everything. And then finally, the last one is giving money to charity. And now I know that obviously we're in a position in the country and all over the world right now where, it's not easy to do things like that because we don't all have a lot of money.
No.
I think that you can quite often do things, even a small something that you don't think twice about. And literally what, like we're talking about with Tesco's,
Yeah,
choosing where your tokens go is your version of doing something
exactly.
like
Exactly. And also, you don't have to, like, being charitable is about spirit. So being charitable can be just doing something nice for somebody else. Maybe it's donating some of your clothes to a charity shop. You don't have to think about always giving money. If you've got it, that's nice. If you have a coffee every day, maybe you don't have it 2 days of that week and pop it in a charity box, for example. But also just think about your local experience. I'm really into local sustainable projects. I genuinely am. Like the mental health project that I'm involved in, I'm a patron of, and that I do group work with, it couldn't run unless there were volunteers. It couldn't run if those psychiatrists and psychologists didn't give their free time every single week to come in and actually to sit with those people and hold that space. It happens because people are good natured. They don't have to be paid, and you don't have to give money to do that. So your time is powerful. So if you don't have money, just think about how you can do things differently, how you can make an impact by, like you said, going and saying that Maureen's had a nice new hairstyle and making a cuppa for Jeff in the office. It says, I noticed you, I see you. I just genuinely feel that that's one of the things that we forget. We don't necessarily recognize that we're all these little miracles in this breath of consciousness for a blink of an eye, wandering around as absolute unique masterpieces, every single human being. It doesn't matter how awful you feel on this day, you are an absolute one-off. There is no one that compares to you, and you are absolutely important in this world. And so if you take that knowledge and think, well, what does that mean I have to give? You have something unique to give, every single one of us does. And if we maybe thought in that way a little bit more, I think the world would be a far better place. And start at a local level,
that.
get yourself into Tesco between 12 and 1, get that lucky golden token, make a difference to young people's lives or community or subjects' lives, do something incredible.
So just a reminder that here in Portsmouth, it is at the old Portsmouth Tesco Express, which is, I believe, just opposite the St Mary's Church. I believe that's what it is. So tomorrow, Saturday the 16th, from 12 till 1 is the time to do that. Go and find that gold token. Emma, thank you so much for
It's a
talking.
pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I want to have you on every week. I honestly,
Anytime,
I love talking to you
anytime,
so much.
anytime.
Thank you so much, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck and everything else with the rest of your day.
Reflected. Have a lovely day, sweetheart.